Hi. Just a little bit about threading on the Enco. One guy mentioned he was curious. Anyways, this is going to require some study on your part. To begin with, you need to make sure you've got your gears set up right. The 127 is the larger gear on the inside. 120 is the outer gear, which isn't engaged in this case. Q, they're asking for 40 here, and that is the inner gear. Difficult to see in this situation. Maybe I'll get a flashlight. But anyways, so count your teeth, get your gear change set up, and then determine what you're going to do for a thread. Now this is 12 threads per inch. That's a common, like half 12, something like that. That's a common one. Let's see. I got a question in my mind about this. Let's think about this a second. But anyways, 7/12. 7 is a 7th position here. And you'll have to wrestle with this. There. I'm in line. Double check yourself. 3rd position over is number 7. Doing this one-handed. There it goes. Anyways, that's your change gears. That changes the speed of the feed screw. And then, of course, here's your engagement for threading. This is for turning, and it's slower because of the gears in the carriage. So it's this lever, engages your half nuts. You probably are better off engaging on the same number. Now there are situations where if you're doing millimeter threads on this lathe, you do not want to disengage your half nut. And so what I do, I actually have a hand crank on the spindle, and I'm threading at slow speed anyways. So, excuse me while I grab my handle. So, I will thread in forward gear with the motor engaged, or not. If you're scared of that, use the hand crank and thread forward. And then, when you disengage your thread cutter, your cutting tool from the threads, you can backwards run the lathe and run the carriage to the right a good distance, so that when you go forward, the all the slack and all the gears and everything is taken up in the forward direction. That allows you to get back into your previously cut threads correctly. And until I decided to operate this way, I screwed up a number of threads. So really, the best thing to do is get some scrap and start practicing. They always tell you to get your thread gauge out, do a scratch cut, and make sure that you're getting the right thread dimension you want. It also is handy to have a trial nut to go on, or a screw to go in an internal thread. Internal threads are not that much different from external. You're just using something that looks like a boring bar to cut your internal threads. You got to get your cutting bar set up for internal threads, the point angles and everything. The other thing, internally, you will switch this around. This is 30 degrees roughly for external threads. The compound will be faced in the other direction. It also helps to excuse me, have a carriage stop to remind you to stop where you need to stop if you're going up to a shoulder. It all requires a bit of care. So to begin with, I would say do your threading in low speed or hand speed. Anyways, it's all good practice. This happened to be a kit I got from somebody, I can't remember offhand. And it's one of the first things I made for my mini lathe, the 7x12. But it's having a handle is handy. This has got a taper in the end, a tapered bushing or whatever. A couple of turns on the nut tightens that in so that it doesn't spin. It spins the spindle. Anyways, the whole idea is to have fun. So get out there and do something. Hope everybody's well.